guys, what's up? I'm Madison. Welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited to be coming to you guys with another long form video. I missed last week's video, but I kind of had creator's block this week, I'm not gonna lie. I just kind of ran out of ideas, but then I started scrolling through old videos and I was like, you know what? I have a lot of ideas. I want to do every weekend, but it's really complicated because some of these ideas I have, I want to do big things with this stuff. Like, I don't want to give you all boring content. I want to edit. My bread and butter is actually like editing. I used to edit all the time, but it takes like 7 hours just to like get a video together. And then if you want to do editing, like it could take hours. I'm not complaining. It's just, I need to find time to do it. And I need to schedule my time so that I can edit. But right now, y'all are watching my shorts like crazy. So if y'all want more intense long form videos, watch the long form videos because then it'll motivate me to make the long form videos even better and put more time into those. But right now, shorts are doing very, very well. So I'm kind of like putting a lot of time into this. I'm procrastinating. If at any point in time you like this video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up. Also, leave a question in the video in the comments. This is my question of the video for this video. I don't know what it is yet. As always, I'm going to scroll through the comments on my last video and see if there are any that I can add in from you guys. So I hope to feature some of y'all in my upcoming videos. Make sure you guys keep leaving those questions in the videos. How do I forget the most important part? I forget to tell y'all to subscribe. Subscribe. If you enjoy this video and you want to see more, subscribe. Okay, I did it. Yeah, okay, before this video starts and before I get into this, I just want to let you guys know that this story starts off like 3/4 into the video. It's a crazy story, but like I give y'all details about everything that this story entails before it starts so that there's more context as to where it took place, how it took place. So you could skip to the story if you want, or you can like listen to me ramble about the history of it. There's actually a lot that you would skip, but feel free to skip if you really want to skip. Also, rate my storytelling skills in the chat because I want to get better at them. I do have a lot of stories. I want to be able to tell stories, but I don't think I'm a good storyteller, to be honest. I think I have too much ADHD to tell a good story. But if you like ADHD and you want to listen to me ramble, like, go for it. Also, YouTube has a little feature where you can speed this up to 1.25 times. So if you want to do that too, you're more than welcome to. Who knows though, if this goes over well, I might start a podcast and start getting guests on to do story times with them and like talk about their situations and stuff. It could get really interesting because I got some interesting friends. So I actually have a ton of story times. I've actually been behind the scenes of the social media entertainment industry. That's what I like to call this. I don't always call it influencing because sometimes it's just providing entertaining content and you can monetize entertainment, and it's amazing that you could do that in today's world and you don't have to like sign your life away to Nick or Disney or any big production company at that. But anyways, I could do a ton of story times from the experiences I've had. There's definitely a lot of story times I could do on this channel from behind the scenes stuff of this space, like the time we did PR with BB Rexa behind the scenes of the Jonas Brothers, the time I was on a movie with Sabrina Carpenter, that was a fun story. What else? The time when my locals blew up and ended up at the Kardashians' house. Oh, Britney Spears' mother was selling skincare at my grandma's house. I just have some random stories. I don't know, if y'all want to hear some story times in the future, I'm totally down to do them. I think it's safe to say that it's always an interesting time playing two truths and a lie when you're playing with industry friends, because you never know what the lie is gonna be. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into this video, and I'm gonna tell you guys stories from our social media conventions, because oh, do I have stories. Back in the day, we used to have this convention called Playlist Live. There were actually a bunch of conventions. We had conventions, I know Social Bash Chicago. They also had tours, like TLG Tour. That was actually the first social media event I've ever been to. That was like 9 years ago. Holy cow, yeah. We've been doing this for a hot minute because I was actually helping my brother run his account, and then we ended up putting my dad online in like 2019, and then I started my stuff a couple years ago, and now I'm here on YouTube making YouTube videos for you guys, which is kind of like right back where we started, but I'm super excited that it full circled back to YouTube because when I was younger, I always wanted to do this. So anyways, these conventions, they were something else, let me tell you. I will say, looking back, having these conventions, I'm so bummed that they aren't really a thing anymore. They still have VidCon, and I just saw that there was Vid Summit, but Vid Summit was advertised as an event for creators to like learn about YouTube from other creators. It was not an event where it was like creators can meet fans, and that's what like these conventions were all about. So one event that I'm going to be talking about is called Playlist Live. Now, Playlist, they actually had one big convention every year in Orlando, and then they had other conventions that they were like trialing, and eventually They shut those down first, and a couple years ago, they totally stopped the conventions in Orlando, which absolutely stinks because that was the best one. It was so good. So essentially, Playlist was like all wings of the internet just like went into one place. Like, it was the internet in real life, kind of like VidCon, like I said, but the difference was Playlist would take place in a hotel, and like in the ballrooms of the hotel. VidCon's in a convention center, so you're staying at different hotels everywhere and kind of scattered around like the general area, to where Playlist, everyone stayed in one hotel, which definitely made for some stories. I will say one thing about these conventions is some of the people that I've met like 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago to this day, like if I ever see them around the space, like such fun vibes. And it's so cool because a lot of people that we had, like, everyone kind of knew each other. So everyone in this community, like back in the day, a lot of them were just getting started with their internet stuff, only had like a few thousand followers, and like have tens of millions of followers now. So I think it's been really cool to watch some of our friends like blow up. And a lot of people, like, not everyone stays in touch anymore, but like we'll see each other at events. It's a fun time, but like everyone's got different genres now, but it's fun. We follow each other, and it's fun to like see everyone's adventures in their own niches and genres. And it's just, it was such a wholesome event. Why did we have to end it? I feel like this video wouldn't be what it could be if I wasn't wearing a good old outfit from the era of these conventions. Let's go ahead and snap it on. Yeah, definitely Internet Kid, Playlist Live coded. I think it's perfect. Let's get into like the tea about some of these events. Also, I am going to be talking about influencers, but I'm not going to use their names, and I'm going to be careful with details. I might mix up a few details because I don't want to be exploiting everyone. Like, water under the bridge, what's done is done, but I think some of these stories will have y'all's jaws, like, because they're actually crazy. Like, it literally sounds like Wattpad. Shoot, I should introduce y'all to Wattpad because y'all could take that and run with it. Obviously, this isn't sponsored. This is just like in the moment. I should give y'all info on what Wattpad is, but basically what you do is you and your friends and your internet friends, and basically you just go on this website and you make stories imagining like yourself hanging out with your favorite YouTubers, celebrities, etc. And you can put like tags and stuff. So like YouTubers used to make videos being like reacting to Wattpad stories, and it would be like, oh, I show up to tour on a Monday morning, all excited to take off with the crew. I just started my career, and my mom actually paid $2,000 for me to go on this tour, but hopefully next year I'll be the poster child and not have to pay anything. Anyways, I walk onto the tour bus, I look over and I see imMadison and blah, blah. Like, that's how y'all would be writing them in today's time. You know what I'm saying? But it does definitely, let me tell you, the fandom aspect of back when I had all of these aspects of like Wattpad, in person, like conventions, tours, etc. And they don't have like any of that anymore. But right now, this new wave of YouTube, I feel like I'm seeing so much potential with like that model coming back. And it's so fun. It's so fun on the viewer side and on the creator side. It gives you something like, gives you, I don't know, it's like an extracurricular activity. The commitment everyone had back when about the whole internet stuff and all this, yeah, it kind of does remind me of an extracurricular. You put a lot of time into watching YouTube videos and interacting and doing fan pages and then going to these events and begging your parents to get there and blah, 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 blah. I'm procrastinating again. What's up, guys? I'm Madison, and you're watching ADHD. What y'all know about that? Playlist AC actually got shut down because of the last one. The last Playlist AC. I think the first one was smooth. They might have had like 3 of them, but I only went to 1, and I'm so sad that it was my last one because it was my favorite one. The hotel was much smaller. Interaction between the viewers and the creators was like so good. I got to clean up these brows. Eyebrows on fleek. There were like insane things that happened. Someone peed off a balcony, not naming names. Then there was another video that I vividly remember seeing. I don't think it ever ended up online, but it was like them running through the hallways, like a friend group of influencers running through the hallways, and one of them had like an exit sign, you know, the light up exit signs that like hang from the ceiling. They were like jumping around with the exit sign. There might have been a fire extinguisher involved that was like being blasted as these like fools were like jumping around the hallway. And they were like, I'd say like 15 to 23, like all in that age group, and they were like jumping around, and The hotel hated it. Like, absolutely hated the convention. Actually, I think Playlist was no longer able to have any conventions within, like, the whole city of DC. I'm kind of shocked that it didn't make, like, national news, considering that, like, all the news stations are always covering stuff in, like, DC. I mean, this was blocks away from the White House. Like, they had all the reason to be able to cover, like, next story, teenagers torment the city of DC out of the embassy suites at video convention. Like, I totally am shocked that this didn't get national coverage. Thank God it didn't, but, like, it could have. This also was the year when James Charles was blowing up. So, of course, the whole convention's running around going, hey, sisters, hey, sisters, hey, sisters. You know, the hoodies were everywhere. That was the last one. And then they did move it to New Jersey. They tried it, like, once, maybe twice. But it was just this, like, room, this convention room, very small room. And it had, like, a stage. There might have been, like, 3,000 people there total in this convention. It was small. It was really small. They had one stage and then, like, snacks, and then, like, the back area is where influencers would be meeting fans. And it just, I mean, there was a good turnout, but no one was, like, really excited to be there. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to, like, these other ones where, like, everyone was, like, living their best life. I know DC also had, like, an ambulance in front of it at one point. There were 100 rumors going around as to why it was there. There was always rumors of people, like, having accidents on balconies, and even at, like, the main convention, but no one really knows to this day, like, what was true, what wasn't. But let me tell you about Orlando. Orlando was a fun time. Orlando was at this, like, big resort. It was at, you can look it up, Marriott World Trade Center, which had, like, this insane pool with, like, water slides. And then it had this pool in the back, which was eventually turned into this whole, like, water park, which we only got to use for 1 year because it opened and then they stopped doing the convention. They had the place booked for, like, the next 10 years to be doing the convention. It was probably, like, 6-7 more years on the contract every Labor Day. But I don't know if it was ticket sales got lower or if the tickets just weren't paying enough, because they were comping, like, all the people who were on the team, the creators, the managers, like, so many comped rooms as well, so, like, it had to cancel those out. I just don't know, like, financially what the setup was, but you would think by how many tickets they sold, like, there was a turnout at these things. These things did not lack attendance, and I'd say Playlist, like, always had a strong attendance. VidCon has, like, a strong attendance too, but VidCon, like, it's such a big, spread out convention, and it almost feels like it's, like, less people for such a big space, if that makes sense. The last convention we went to for Playlist was actually really fun. We kind of always set our expectations to 0 because we never did get in as, like, featured, which, like, made sense, and it did because the space kept getting bigger. My brother had 1 million on TikTok, like 1.2 mil or something, but it's so competitive to get in as featured. So it is what it is, but we did get in with TikTok, and they had their own, like, creator parties, and at the last convention, the creator party actually all got bussed over to Universal Studios. So, like, the last night we were all in Universal for, like, 3 to 4 hours with just, like, all the influencers and stuff, and that was a really, really fun one for me because I got to meet a ton of people that I watched, like, as a kid, because before I was on this side of the camera, I was on your side of the camera, so I learned a lot through these conventions and seeing friends who were huge, and then also, like, being a viewer about, like, how to go about social media now. A lot happened at the last convention. A lot happened at all the conventions, but I guess the last convention's, like, fresh on the noggin. We were in a conversation with the manager of the Sway House. Mid-conversation, he picks up his phone to take a phone call, and he's like, yeah, let me get that set up. He's like, sorry, guys, I gotta get to, the people who run this event and see if they can hook us up with a badge, because Mark Cuban's coming with his daughter. And if you don't know Mark Cuban, you probably know the show Shark Tank. Your parents, your aunt, your grandma, whoever it is probably has Shark Tank on, and Mark Cuban is on that show. There with her dad. We didn't see Mark, but we did go to the TikTok lounge thing, and she was there, and my dad gave her a Mardi Gras bead, because we brought Mardi Gras beads, and my dad had fun handing them out to everyone there, because it was, like, right around Mardi Gras time when these conventions were happening. Was it? I thought it was Labor Day. It could have been the one right around Mardi Gras time. I don't really know. All I know is my dad was handing out Mardi Gras beads, and one of them ended up at the Cuban's house, unless she pitched it right after. I wouldn't have blamed her. Mardi Gras beads are a little junky. You know, they're just... At VidCon, there were always parties, and the Disney kids would be there. Like, the Disney Channel kids. So, in fact, Yeah, oh my gosh, one of my really good friends is still friends with Kylie Cantrell on Insta. And because she was telling me the other day, she's like, she just did a big, like, industry move. And I was like, did you see Kylie's popping off? Because I knew they were friends. And she's like, yeah, we're still friends on Insta. But I don't think I actually met Kylie. But my friend who I was with ran into Kylie. And they had this whole conversation because they were, like, just meeting each other in person. I wasn't going to intervene. I didn't know Kylie. I mean, I knew she was, like, an industry kid. But I was like, y'all do y'all's thing. But she was there. And then I did run into Ruby Rose Turner. And I think I did chat with her. And she came back. She was like, can I put y'all on my story? So somewhere in our Snapchat archives, they shoot a selfie of me and my brother and her. And possibly, I don't know which friend it was, but one of my friends. A selfie of all of us could be in Ruby Rose Turner's Snapchat archives if she has them on. I doubt she does. But, yeah, you would run into all sorts of people at these conventions. But I do think once people were turning 18, they should be careful with where they were because there could be 14-year-olds doing things they should not be doing in certain hotel rooms. And if the cops come banging on that door, you could be responsible if you're old. I don't think most people over the age of 18 really cared because there were, like, 30-year-old managers in these rooms. And I was like, this is crazy. But, you do you. It's not my personal record. I was like, it's your personal record, not my personal record. The Disney kids still cross over with this industry to this day because their publicists rep influencers as well sometimes. And like, for example, my friend's little sister had a big party in December when she hit 1 million, and a couple of the Disney kids who are on Disney Plus right now were at this convention, and it was fun watching all the like young kids being like, oh my gosh, you're from... I feel like I'm putting off the craziest story. I'm definitely procrastinating on this. The end is gonna be the biggest story out of this whole video. I'm warning y'all. I'm not even using that as clickbait. I just know that I'm gonna be warming this up for the next few minutes, and then I'm gonna hit y'all with like this crazy, insane story that I just can't even believe in I can't even believe in happened. Looking back, this sounds like it should go in Wattpad. And again, I'm gonna have to use different names because I'm not exploiting people's situations, but I just can't get over the fact that any of this is real. I really can't get over the fact that this actually happened. They had other... Oh, what the heck? Was that the power? Oh. I jinxed it. We just got the power back. I kind of like this lighting. It's a vibe. Hold on, let me set everything up again because that was crazy. I feel comfortable talking about this story because I know it's happened in different scenarios. I was just talking to one of my friends the other day and she was telling me, yeah, I was at one of these conventions with my friend group one year and we all like realized after the fact that there was one girl in the hotel room with like the 10 of us who no one knew and everyone just assumed that she was someone's friend in the room and she was there. I mean, like, it was just, and they were talking about like behind the scenes industry information. It's like there's certain conversations you wouldn't have and blast out to the world. And when you have strangers in your hotel room, you're kind of like, it's no longer like you have any privacy, you know? And then the hotel room owner, like, I don't know. We never had people in our hotel rooms, I'm gonna tell you that. We always went to friends' rooms. We did not go to our room because we knew the liability behind it. We had a couple of like friends in, but like friends, like people we knew their parents or their family and or their channels so well that we knew their morals, values, etc. Like it was all good. But yeah, no, this was just so interesting. Anyways, this particular story definitely kind of set the tone for how I moved forward with pursuing all of this on camera, and I've learned my lesson. I think it's good to be safe than sorry and not shoot yourself in the foot by putting yourself in a situation where you end up risking your liability. Essentially, like legally getting in trouble for things because you decided to go about social media in a way that was not the best way to go about social media. Okay, so at the time there was this one app that was big. It was a live streaming app and the viewers would send the creators bars. And a lot of them were motivated to send the creators bars because they were getting guested in exchange. So like they'd send like $30, then or $30 worth of bars, and then the creator would like bring them up into a box and be like, oh my gosh, hey, like what's your favorite color? But like I don't think they were, I just always assumed they were asking those kind of questions, but maybe they were asking like, how's your mom? I don't know the questions they would ask, but the kids who were guested for short periods of time, as an exchange. It was very transactional. And then, like, they felt like they were friends with these charismatic streamers who, a lot of them had age gaps with these kids. Like, these were, like, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13-year-olds. And some of the streamers were, like, 20. So, at the end of the day, it was just not the best, like, model, if that makes sense. I always try to keep everything parasocial because I did see that play out, and I never want to end up in a situation to where I actually play any of you guys and have you guys thinking, oh, I talk to Madison on a weekly basis. Like, if I'm ever in Louisiana, I'm gonna go to her house. Being young, it's super easy to be watching an influencer who gets really personable and then tells their viewers, like, hey, what's up, family? How's it going, fam? And then, like, they're like, oh, yeah, like, you're part of our family. And then you go to these conventions too, all excited to hang out with them finally in person. And then sometimes they have like hundreds of people at their meet and greets. And then you go up there and you get your pictures with them and then you chat with them for like 2 minutes and then that's it. And then their meet and greet's closed. And then they go up to their hotel room or they go to the networking events and you might see them on stage, but like you don't get that time. So I'm sure there's a lot of influencers too who are in that boat who would absolutely love to be able to have like 10, 20-minute conversations with all their viewers one-on-one. But sometimes at these conventions, the model just wasn't possible to actually like make it super personable, which is why, as you notice nowadays, there's a lot of opportunities to do like VIP events where like you'll get to a show an hour, 2 hours before and you'll hang out with the influencers. It'll be more of a personable experience to where like you can tell them your life story, say, oh, you saved me because I blah, 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 blah. Or you could be like, oh, you saved my skin because you taught me about this skincare. It doesn't necessarily have to be that deep. It's such a new industry. Like, social media has only been around for like 15 years max. So everyone in the past number of years, I think people are still learning how to use all of this because there's no school for it. You're literally trial and erroring with your friends. You get into this stuff, you finally grow a platform, and you're learning so much that you never prepared for. I could do a video like tips and tricks I would have told myself before doing social media, or tips and tricks I tell my friends before doing social media. I don't think it's a situation where there's any judgment on any influencers who ran their stuff the way they did at all. You learn from mistakes, and sometimes it's not your own mistakes you learn from, it's the mistakes of people around you, or even if they don't see it as their own mistakes, like you can look at it and be like, yeah, that's kind of a mistake. I'm not gonna make that. I'm not gonna do that to myself. That would be a mistake to myself. You know what I'm saying? This story was crazy. I'm finally getting to the story. Oh my gosh. I so miss these events. Okay, for starters, I've been streaming on TikTok for the past like 2 to 3 years, and I have always said, I'm like, I want to keep this parasocial because I just don't think it's healthy when you have like friendships come out of donations. Like, friendship needs to be a model where you have two people who have similar interests who are reciprocating wanting to be friends with each other, not a situation where you have someone that is sending money to support someone and that's why that someone has interest in them. A lot of times too, in the TikTok streaming space, like, it's grown adults and some people are like looking to get relationships out of it, so they'll throw money. I immediately stop them. I'm like, y'all, that's not gonna work. I try to like really entertain with my live streams over there. That's why I boil crawfish and like I'll play random instruments and stuff. You have to run the model of like being on a FaceTime call, but you have to find the balance of making sure it's parasocial at the same time so that people don't get like so attached feeling like they personally know you. Especially like, it's actually kind of dangerous too, because when it is grown adults and they feel like they personally know you and then they're sending money on top of it, they expect something in return, and you never know when one of them's like psychotic and will snap. And so I'm really grateful that I've had this experience because I could totally see myself accidentally messing that up and then having an obsessive stalker like stalking and showing up in person to try to physically like befriend and pursue. Yeah, this is a very PG channel, so I'm gonna say as little on that as possible, but you can just imagine like the scary scenarios that could come out of it if you accidentally lead a crazy person into the wrong direction with how attached they feel like they are to you by just going online and making content. So in this particular story, I'm not talking about gifters who are grown adults, though I'm talking about gifters who are teenage girls. Okay, so we were at this one convention, and like I said, you network in hotel rooms with your friends. We were with some friends. This was when the platform with the bars were a thing. And we go up to the hotel room to network and hang out with our friends and do collaborations and just hang. You had 20-somethings in there and you had like 14-year-olds in there. Okay, so very platonic, a vibe. But this was behind the scenes industry. You were giving personal information to people in that room because like you want to have a personal friendship with the people in your industry, because like I said, a lot of my closest friends, realest friends came out of this space. I'm not going to be like a camera personality to them. Like I'm going to be like, I talk to my friends about my family and like my home life and stuff, and some of that I kind of keep private from the internet because I think it's good to practice privacy in your life. We go to this hotel room. I think there were at least like 7 of us that were already friends. There were like 3 or 4 creators that we ended up meeting and being friends with, and people were like in and out of this room, but like for the most part there was always like 5 to 10 people in this hotel room at all times, networking, hanging out, whatever. When we get there the first day, we're hanging out, we're, you know, chatting with everyone casually, not really getting into the nitty-gritty. Typically too, you don't automatically say like, hey, I'm Madison, here are my socials, go pick me up, blah blah blah. Like, you're there, you're hanging out, as the event goes on, like, exchange information. But like, you want to feel the vibe first, you know what I'm saying? Oh, no one would ever sleep at these things. That's another thing too. Like, you would sleep from like 4 to like whenever. I would usually sleep from like 3 to 4 till like 11, 12. And then the day would start around 2 because by the time hair and makeup was done, it was already 2 o'clock. So sometimes friends would like come up into the hotel room while you're getting ready, you'd hang out. Our friend group at this particular convention was hanging out in a little bit more of a personal setting where there weren't many of us, and it was strictly like networking with creators. And we just assumed that everyone in this group were all in the space. Little did we know. So the next day I'm chatting with these teenagers and I'm like, oh, what do y'all do? And they were just excited to be there. I was like, oh, you're friends with these particular influencers? They were like, yeah. I'm like, oh, really? Like, are y'all from the same hometown? How long have y'all been working together? What does this look like? They said they were friends with these influencers, and essentially, yeah, they were guested on their live streams after sending donations. And basically they told their parents that they were gonna go to their aunt's house, and they got on a bus and traveled hours across multiple states to get to this convention, got there and realized that legally they were not allowed to check in because they were like 13, 14 years old. So they got in touch with these influencers who they had this parasocial relationship with. They were like DMing their gifters and adding them back. And then it gave them access to, the gifters were DMing them saying like, we can't get a hotel room because we're too young. And then it put the influencers at a situation to where they were like, well, we can't compromise our model of like, we're all friends and just leave them out on the street. So it put them in a situation, well, the gag is that the influencers were like over 18 and they weren't all females, and it just wasn't a good situation. As an eyewitness, I can confirm that everything I saw was platonic. It was very much just like they crashed in there so they weren't on the streets and they could enjoy the convention. But like, they didn't even tell their parents. Like, their parents would call and they were shushing everyone so that they could like fake it. So wild. So once we found out that this was the situation, we totally like avoided that hotel room because we were like, we do not want to be associated with the fact that like, this is the situation. My parents were there, so like, who's to say people would have come to me, said, oh, you have parents here. The parents came down, saw that we were associated with this situation and knew information, and I didn't want any legal issue, so we did not go into that hotel room. But they wanted to hang out with us like as a group, so like the rest of the convention was kind of us like trying to hang out just in their social circles of like the network, but like we weren't featured creators, so we couldn't go back behind like where the creators were. It was a mess, y'all. So after seeing that whole situation play out, we were like, my brother and I looked at the drawing board and said, this is how we're going about social media, and we do not want to end up in that boat. So a lot of what I do, a lot of how I run social media has a lot of history on my experiences in this space. Oh my gosh, when I was a kid and I'd watch daily vloggers and they would have their like street signs behind them. Well, we know you live in Glenwood, you post stuff around that area all the time, like you're always in Americana. Like I don't live there, but you're daily vlogging and now I'm seeing a street sign. It's like, It's so easy. So like the fact that I was able to do that as a kid, I cannot imagine if it was like a grown man wanting information about, you know what I'm saying? Anyways, I'm really, really grateful for my history in this space and the crazy stories that I've seen because I learned a lot. So usually these conventions are 3 to 5 days. At one point we did stop by, hang out at the hotel room again, and we ended up leaving at like 3 a.m. and slept in. And then the next morning I woke up to stuff on my phone from one of my friends, and they were like, do you know what happened last night? So it turns out another girl who was also like 15, 16 ended up in the same hotel room and told her parents which room she was going to, but accidentally fell asleep in the room somewhere. And so her parents sent security to the hotel room at 6 in the morning. Security's banging on the door, being that the owners of this hotel room were like adults. There were a couple of influencers still in there who we were friends with, and they were like, dude, like we had full interviews with security on like the setup of the hotel room and stuff. And the craziest part is, to this day, I don't know how they got away with like not having an issue with it, like a big issue with it. They did get warnings, but there was a drink under the bed hidden by one of our other friends who just wanted a room to store it in, who was like, one of our other friends was like 23. So like legally could have it, but it was the way that it was under the bed when it was a situation where there were like minors, like teenagers in this room. Their parents didn't know where they were and they were states away. Like, I don't know. It's actually a full-blown miracle as to that whole thing. But after security knocked on, this was a convention early on. And I think after all that happened, it definitely like, every convention after that, I was on my toes because I was like, I will not be in a room where they are doing stuff that they shouldn't be. My brother and I were just really careful because we were like, we do not want to be like, even though we can't be responsible, even though we're not 18 yet, we can't be responsible for it. Like, we just don't want to be associated with doing any of this stuff just because we're in a room with people doing this stuff. Does that make sense? Like, if security shows up, we didn't want to get fingers pointed at us. Like, oh, well, I might have hid this, but she owns it. Like, you never know. Like, you don't really know these kids either. Like, some of them you get to know, but you don't really know these kids. So yeah, essentially most people were there for work. Everyone was there for work, but what happened was they went for work and ended up basically running a babysitting gig because they shot themselves in the foot with not having a full parasocial model. And I have a lot of friends right now who like don't run a parasocial model. And I've seen friends who don't run a parasocial model get in trouble. And usually with like other adults. That I can't get into that. This is a family channel. But let's just say, don't talk to strangers online unless they're in your industry and have a very strong moral backbone and are probably around the same age as you, or you can just like see their full family and say, no, these are really good people. Like, that's where you could start talking to strangers online. I met some of my best friends from talking to strangers online, so I can't fully say don't talk to strangers online. But if there's someone who looks like this commenting on your videos and saying, send me your address, little girl, don't. I love you, Dad. My dad literally took this picture so I can use it as an example. Don't give them your address. Don't DM them. Don't do none of that. It's a bad idea. I confirm it's a bad idea. I've seen it multiple times. It's a bad idea. In today's time, I feel like the social media space is so big now. It's so saturated that like the volume, like if conventions were to ever happen again, I think that everyone would be a little more spread out. So I do feel like you could probably have a lot more like one-on-one conversations at these things. I mean, like, I think my first convention was like 2014. I was very young, and these YouTubers were treated like celebrity. If you had 100,000 subscribers, you were chased by 50 people. It was actually insane. But now, like, there's so many people with 100,000 subs. So it's a little different. But I wish when I was younger, I could have gotten that warning so I didn't have like super high expectations going into these events. At the same time, like, I don't think most of these influencers really knew their turnout. Like, they couldn't go on camera before and be like, hey guys, don't expect like a 10-minute conversation because we have a lot of people to meet. Like, they're not obligated to give you that warning because like, you never know. They may not have that big of a turnout and they may be able to provide that. But I think at the end of the day, a lot of them would love to sit down and talk to all their viewers for at least 8 minutes and like have a conversation and not just take a picture and smile and go. But I don't know. Some people are huge and that's all they can really be able to give you when they have that many people lined up to meet them. Anyways, yeah, I have all sorts of memories from these things. The last few when we went to definitely were more exciting because we kept getting more successful with our social media stuff. If y'all don't know, my brother Patrick has social media. He has like 1.8 million on TikTok, and we launched his platform first. He would be like the actor on it, and then I would like research the trends, do the editing, like set up the videos, content, create essentially, and network at the conventions and stuff. He was pretty shy too, and then I was like the chatterbox, so we would run around and do these conventions together. But he was way more out of his shell, especially like once he started talking to people at these conventions than he was like locally at school. So I do think he was like a different kid. It was pretty cool to see him go from like locally introverted to like extroverted at these things. The last playlist we went to was actually really cool because that one we got into the TikTok lounge, and they happen to have a lot of YouTubers that I watched growing up that I finally got to like go have conversations with and be like, no way, like I've met y'all in meet and greets before, but this is the first time I'm meeting you guys from the creator side. It was just super cool having that full circle. And then at the end of the night, everyone got bussed over to Universal, which was always an annual thing. And we always saw it play out, but we never were able to participate in that because we were not featured. But this one particularly, all the TikTok creators were also bussed over, so we got to run Universal's park for like 3 to 4 hours with just all the creators, and it was just a really cool experience. I definitely have a lot of good memories from these things. I do think it'd be so cool to see more of them come back in the future. I think COVID definitely scared a lot of like companies that were putting these things together because they realized at any point in time the world could go crazy. And it's like a full-time job to be organizing them, I'm sure. So then you'd have to send all of the money back to all of the ticket holders and postpone the event. And sometimes you just have to cancel the event because you couldn't find a date to postpone it to. So I'm sure there's a lot in the behind the scenes that we don't even know about that makes it really complicated, because there aren't that many of these conventions anymore. But I don't know, maybe there'll be some that come back, and it'd be super, super cool to see a convention come back where it's focused on kind of like the niche of beauty, fashion, lifestyle. You know, I mean, they do have conventions for gaming, specifically furries. Like, VidCon has a lot of other niches that trickle into it. So did Playlist, but Playlist was a little more niche, and I just miss it. It was so fun. And the demographic for like Playlist was anywhere from like kids to like college, more like teenagers, and everyone had the interest of the internet stuff, which was not mainstream at the time. So like you finally got to these conventions and felt like you were in your element with people around you who had your common interests, because a lot of times at school, like, you were the oddball out if you were interested in watching YouTubers, which now everyone and their mothers watch YouTubers, and every other kid wants to be a YouTuber when they grow up. So jokes on literally everyone, because we were just ahead of our time. And then there were memes walking around. Like, I met so many memes at these conventions, and I'm friends with some memes. The last one I went to, I'm in line at Universal, turn around, and there's Gavin Thomas, who's like a big meme on Twitter, Vine. I turn, I'm like, oh my gosh, we watched you grow up. Like, how was the convention? How's it like being a meme? Little girl behind him goes, we love being memes. Little girl behind him is freaking Bats. I love Halloween. I smell like beef. I was like, oh, this is a trip. It's kind of like these conventions were kind of like Disney, but instead of like going to meet characters, you were going to meet all these internet famous people. It was actually so wild, and what's crazy is I have a number of friends who didn't even really have big platforms at the times, and then some of them had big platforms, but like in a different realm. For example, like the Bakers, they've like blown up since these conventions. My brother used to have Mario Kart parties at these conventions with them. And then like, oh, once Patrick texted me, he was like, hey, I'm running to IHOP with some friends. I'm like, cool. He's like, yeah, it's me, one girl, Jackson Mahomes. I'm like, who's Jackson Mahomes? I don't really know sports. And then he was like, his brother just won the Super Bowl. And I was like, wait, that's actually insane. You know what's weird? I'm filming this video. I've had this video planned for a week with like all of this content. And my friend texted me this morning. She's in New York right now with her friend, his friend. They have like a company together. So they have one girl who we're both mutuals with, and then Jackson's there. And I have not seen him since this convention in 2022. Or was it 2020? I don't know, whatever year Patrick Mahomes won the Super Bowl, that's just, the odds of that are actually kind of weird. I have so many I could do a whole video on what are the odds. Oh my gosh, Katie Feeney, I used to text her mom actually. She was in group messages and has been mutuals with my brother and my dad on TikTok, but just recently, it's been fun recently doing my own stuff because like, just a few months ago, she followed me on TikTok and it was like, y'all are not mutuals. And I was like, oh my gosh, how's life? How's it been? And she didn't connect the dots that I was Patrick's sister. And she's like, oh my gosh, wait, I'm just realizing who you are. Like, she's friends with my dad on TikTok too. And I kind of ran his account, so I felt like I was seeing her all the time. And I wasn't on camera. So it's very crucial to have your own platform. I've learned that too. You gotta suck it up sometimes and just do it. Just do it. It's great to establish a platform, especially in today's time. If you want to be an entrepreneur of any sort, it's really good to establish a platform. So yeah, it was cool running into her again. Ariana Lee, ran into her. My friend was live on TikTok with me and then was like, do you know Ariana? I'm gonna add her in. Adds in Ariana. I was like, shut up, wait, you were in all the social circles that my brother was good friends with and that he was in the same genre with, and I start naming names. She's like, I know your brother. Wait, I know. No way. Like, small world. She's so sweet. She's blown up with slime recently too. I don't know. It would just be so cool to see conventions come up again to where like, would you guys go to a convention if it was like all of the new like trending names on YouTube? It also has been fun becoming mutuals with people who I like grew up watching. Like Lozelle, when she followed me, I was like, you know you raised me. And she was like, nuh-uh. And I was like, yeah. I'm like, all that extraness that I do when I'm live probably subconsciously came from like watching her, like her impact growing up. Like every time I dance on a countertop, it's probably because I grew up watching the Shaytars and like that was so normal to me, was like the whole family on the counter dancing around, and like my dad will dance around on the counter too. And I'm like, you know what? Subconsciously, a lot of YouTubers made me who I am today. So I don't know, it's fun doing YouTube. Cute little full circle moment. Hopefully there will be more conventions in the future. Would you guys go to a convention if they did happen again? I feel like one would do very well in Dallas or Houston. I know they just had the Vid Summit convention, but that was more for creators to go and learn. And I think tickets were like over like $1,500 or something crazy. But I could totally see it doing well. Like I know a ton of you guys watch like Nisha and Fam, Aya and Ellie. Oh my gosh, you could have Kenzie, Lacey, like Tess, the whole Talent Nation group. I feel like y'all watch a lot of them. Just Jules, who else? That girl Sophie Yates is all over my feed. I always see her stuff. Shoot, get Maddox Baston to perform. You could get the Rock Squad, Grace Mary Williams, Cass Parker, the whole Not Enough Nelsons. That's half the turnout of the creators at this event. Let some of the Savannah Bananas crush it who are trying to work on their personal platforms, because I feel like their audience is the same audience that sees all of those videos. I definitely think a big meet and greet event could be thrown together nowadays, considering YouTube is back on the come up. I feel like the next generation is watching YouTube Shorts. TikTok, the For You page just isn't fandom driven anymore. It's way more just like viral video. So you lose the fandom aspect, to where I feel like YouTube is still the fandom model, and a lot of you guys are seeing like the same YouTubers and subscribing and getting excited about like when YouTubers are posting videos, rather than just hoping that you're going to catch them on your feeds if you follow them. Like TikTok has that model, if that makes sense. I don't know. Let me know what YouTubers you guys watch. I'm curious to see if it's the same YouTubers that I'm seeing on my feed that I think you guys watch. And let me know if you would go to some type of convention like that. That would be super cool. I actually feel like I'd be really good at throwing together a lineup for a convention or contributing to. If this is a concept that you guys would want to see come back, comment below and share this video with your friends. Because the more buzz it gets over like wanting this, you may have someone who's used to putting these things together come back and be like, you know what, it's been a few years, let's try it again. I mean, they could always do pre-sales and then see if it would sell or not. And if it sells, keep it going and play it out. Let me know. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, comment if you enjoyed this video of, I say it's a story time, but like half of this was just me talking about old conventions and like what they were about. But that story is super crazy. One of the craziest things I think I've ever seen. It literally sounded like it was fan fiction. It was fan not fiction. I'm calling this story time, fan not fiction, Wattpad, IRL. Am I actually going to call it that? Or maybe I could do like, they snuck into our hotel room? Here, look. Hold on, give me pink lipstick so I don't look dead. I need Addison Rae to relaunch Item Beauty. It was the gift they kept giving and now it's empty. I'm literally gonna get emotional over this. Like, are you kidding me? This was the best lip gloss of our generation. Should I do the thumbnail with this? No, I'm gonna do it like this. Also, don't forget, at 400,000 we are gonna be relaunching the giveaway for the Sol de Janeiro's and Glow recipes, because our last winner was in the United Kingdom, so I had to send them prizes that weren't liquids because they won't let me ship liquids because it was toxic. But I got them the Glow recipe though, which super excited that they were able to get that. Let's go ahead and shoot thumbnails. I think that's good. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch y'all in my next video. Bye!